My urge to kill has only grown. This up! Oh, no, you don't! Ah!
They're getting away! Children of the Vault! Wake your empty heads up and start shooting! Kill the Vault Hunter! By using New Heal, you forfeit all rights to your life story to Hyperion. Until your story is profitable,
Say, Rat Boy, aren't you the one who has to suck at your sister's teat for sustenance? Die in a gutter!
fight for the Calypso!
Get back here, old man! Try and catch me! I lost him. I'll run to the cabaret theaters up ahead. Push through!
You're already dead. You know that, right? Together, family!
Hey, Vault Thief. Want to see something your dead siren friend couldn't do? Yes! You my power will prove you!
No.
careful, Typhon. Monty's all right, but a tiger with a smile, still a tiger. I know. My father always loved Typhon de Leon and the Vault ruins. Find the poster for that and set it up on stage. That Typhon de Leon story was always my father's favorite. Give it a try. If I recall this story correctly, you'll need to arrange the set with Typhon, the Vault Arch, and the ruins backdrop. If I recall this story correctly, you'll need to arrange the set with Typhon, the Vault Arch, and the ruins backdrop. You've done it! That trapdoor on the stage leads right to my father's study. Hurry, you've got to search it.
What am I hunting for down here?
I'm not entirely sure. My father said he kept all his records down there. Look for something record-like. Of course. He meant record literally. That record's as old as Jacobs Corporation, and I got the only Ligno phonograph player in the entire system. If he wanted to leave me a message, that must be it. Bring it on back to the lodge, Vault Hunter.
I will see you momentarily.
Leaving so soon? Very well. Let me at least explain myself. You mean nothing to me, so I sold you to the Calypso twins. But so you know, I will get the vault key. Because I'm rich. And rich people get what they want.
Whoa! Looks like someone was a chew toy for a Saurian. I get it, we're delicious. With that ultra premium grade multi-listing personality modifier, my new best friend will be able to cower and grandstand at the same time.
Shoot more, shot.
I missed you, little friend.
Vault Hunter, so you spoke with my sister and lived to tell the tale. Never mind the harpy. That record. May I see it, Vault Hunter? Still can't believe the Calypsos murdered my father. I need to get my record player working. You know Aurelia's gonna send all those damn zealots to find us. If we're gonna last long enough to open that vault. You'll need an army of ours. Resistance. It's time to take back Eden 6, and we'll start with the town of Reliance. I hired a gunslinger named Clay to lend a hand. He's waiting for you outside the town.
I will do.
That Clay, the smuggler. I don't quite trust him, but he worked for my father, and he just might be our best shot at driving them zealots back into the mud from whence they came.
We'll tan your eye!
I hear you, Beats. On the way!
This game just kinda cheats on me.
So, you met the
Over here, Vault.
Feel the bloodlust.
Name's Clay. I suppose you and I here started Jacob's resistance. Mind telling me one word?
I am Flack, and that is all you need to know about me.
Well, we ain't getting in the front yet. Might know nothing. Follow me. Now, in my experience, a resistance needs two things: hope and guns. But mostly guns. So, we're gonna liberate this town, crack open its weapons cache, and put Jacob's guns back in Jacob's hands. Don't know what Wainwright told you about me, but... That don't matter. We got a town to free and bandits to kill. Let's do a job of killing your scene, Yup, still got it.
Come on. Bandits down there, all right. Show me how you get here. That was some damn punch. Vive la resistance! Weapon shed should be just over here. There's the weapon shed. Now, how do we get in?
Got a hot wire this past.
Wainwright's concealed the captain Jacob's master gunsmith. They'll find her.
Cross the border boats.
Invigorated. Show me.
Guy killed was a lucky man, I guess. All right, head on back to the weapons shed. I'm almost there. Still ain't. Might require some encouragement from your gun. Nice work, Vault Hunter. You find that gunsmith Dalton?
No master gunsmith, merely regular civilians.
Damn, we gotta find one. But let's get into this weapon shed first. One problem at a time. Smart shooting. Electricity is like a wild style. You're just gonna have to trust me on that, Vault. That's Dalton's personal cache. But we ain't getting in there without the master gunsmith himself. Let me see if I can look it up.
While I'm looking for Dalton, watch my ass.
Which is to say, don't let me get shot in it. Language ain't as precise as a bullet, but it can be just as deadly in the wrong hands.
Must have thrown them all.
With their long arm will make a nice backstop. Just saying.
Bonfire. This way.
Hey, Paul.
You do the honor, Paul. And the town is ours. I gotta hand it to you, Vault Hunter. You're one smooth operator. But we're not done yet. Looks like the COV kidnapped Dalton. He's being held in an island lockup called Fort Sunshine. I'll stay here and hold the town. You free Dalton. Dalton worked for Wainwright's dad. Too. Montgomery Jacobs' personal gunsmith. Dalton makes the finest firearms on the planet.
We can't have his guns in.
setting up in COV. We're getting him out. Bet you're wondering how Aurelia Hammerlock got all mixed up with the Children of the Vault. Before the invasion, I found out she was spying on her brother. Aurelia gave the Calypsos all they needed to take E6 by surprise. Aurelia claimed she knew where the vault key was, too. Only she didn't. Turns out there's some secrets money came by.
Gunsmith you snatched. Do your thing! The teleporty thing.
Yeah, sure! But because I want to, not because you asked.
Whatever, just do it already!
Asshole. And we're back!
That's it. I'm doubling my scalp quota. Into the darkness. All of you are weak!
Can't stop!
It would appear my path is blocked this way.
Guess we'll need to find another way in. Take a look around. There's an old lookout nearby that might offer a nice vantage.
Well, Vault Thief's still alive. Guess I should have anointed a few more of the family. That's the real power.
Reminds me why I kept you alive all these years?
Come on, don't be like that. We're having fun. Right? And she walked away.
Ciao for the time being.
Find anything, Vault Hunter?
Perhaps the overhead crane would serve our needs.
Good idea. That'll do nicely. Unfortunately, it'll be a bit of a bear to get to it. You'll have to go through the lumberyard. And that's COV Central. I'll make sure the door's open by the time you get there.
Best of each weapon type, best shield, best grenade, best class mod for each character, and the best artifact. Also includes some honorable mentions with each of these items. If you enjoy these types of videos, then please take a second to tap that subscribe button for more. With that, let's get started. Coming in at number 10 on this list, let's start things off with rocket launchers. Much like in Borderlands 2, launchers in Borderlands 3 boils down to a small list of useful launchers, the best of which is the Backburner. This Vlanov launcher can be shot fairly fast, it does huge damage, and it tends to mess up enemies nearby via the singularity effect and the Merv orbs that it creates. This launcher can be farmed only from the Agadizer 9000 and the Guts of Carnivore on Pandora, while on Mayhem 6 or higher. Honorable mentions for this category go to the Plague Bearer, the Ion Cannon, and the Major Kong. Coming in at number 9, we're moving on to grenade mods. Now, sadly, grenade mods in Borderlands 3 largely leave a bit to be desired. They're mainly used to proc anointment perks and maybe rip shields on enemies, but there's one grenade that's usefulness exceeds all others, the It's Piss Grenade. This grenade can be used to remove status effects from yourself and teammates, and it can be used on enemies to cause them to take 20% more damage from all sources for 6 seconds at a time. This obviously makes this grenade great for bosses with huge health bars. This grenade can only be obtained from Sloth and Conrad's Hold on Pandora. Honorable mentions go to the Hex, Lightspeed, and Hunter Seeker grenades. Coming in at number 8 are the artifacts. Now, in Borderlands 3, there are a lot of useful artifacts, and they're mostly all situational, whether you're fighting a boss or just mobbing or doing something else in between there. But with that said, there's one artifact that's more useful in most situations and for more characters than any other, and that is the Pearl of Ineffable Knowledge. This artifact allows you to stack damage via consecutive hits on enemies, 1% per hit up to 15%, and then at 15 stacks it adds 90% more on top of that. The trick to that, though, is you can use grenades and damage over time effects to keep stacking that effect up, allowing you to do very high damage at all times. The Pearl of Ineffable Knowledge can only be obtained as a quest reward in the second DLC. It's given to you by Claptrap for completing the Call of Githyan quest. Honorable mentions in this category go to the Auto Idol, the Victory Rush, and the White Elephant, and note that each of those will spawn with a prefix that will further affect how they work, so finding the right combination is what makes them so good. Coming in at number 7, let's take a look at shotguns. Now, this is one of my favorite weapon types in most games, and shotguns allow you to get right up in your enemy's face and see the look of terror in their eyes as you wipe them off the face of the planet. The Hellwalker, after its buff in September 2020, is by far one of the most fun and exciting weapons I've ever used in any video game ever. If you find a Hellwalker in normal mode on Borderlands 3, you will be able to use it for probably out with 20 or 30 plus levels, one-shotting most mob enemies and making bosses tremble in fear, even if they mostly resist incendiary damage. The Hellwalker can world drop, or it can be farmed from Road Dogg in the Splinterlands on Pandora. Be aware that it will take you a while sometimes to get this thing to drop. Honorable mentions go to the Reflux, the Recursion, and the Face Puncher, which would probably be the... Now, this was a tough one for me to pick because there are some really fun snipers in this game, and I love Jacob snipers, but it's hard to argue with a high fire rate, laser accurate, flat off sniper that has a high chance to not consume ammo and occasionally spawns boogeyman skulls to seek out enemies and do even more damage. And if you're lucky enough to get an NX version with a 300/90 anointment like I did, then you're going to have a lot of fun with this gun. The boogeyman skulls will take advantage of anointment when they hit enemies. This means you can sometimes just sit back and watch the skulls eliminate the entire battlefield. The boogeyman can only be obtained by extracting it from the Arms Race DLC, where it can be found.
Wow!
It can also drop from random enemies in the Arms Race or the final boss. Honorable mentions in the sniper category go to the Skullmasher, the Krakatoa, the Unseen Threat, the Sandhawk, and the Complex Root. Coming in at number 5 is my pick for the best assault rifle in Borderlands 3, and unlike the snipers, this one was a very clear and easy choice. The Monarch, it is an absolute beast of a weapon, high fire rate, massive damage, and it just feels good to shoot this thing. Switching this gun to bipod mode is what makes it so powerful, because that doubles your damage. It can roll with a ×4 variant or a ×8 variant projectile count as well. This gun can be used with great effect on large targets or even small ones, but you need to treat this gun like a shotgun at that point and get right up in their face to maximize your shots on target. The Monarch can only be obtained on Mayhem 6 and above from Kilovolt in Lectra City on Promethea. Honorable mentions in the assault rifle category go to the buffed Shreddifier, especially if you find one with a super prefix, the boom prefixed sickle, aka the boom sickle, and the OPQ system, which was only available during the Revenge of the Cartels event, and it's locked at level 57, but it is still tearing people up at level 65. Coming in at number 4, let's talk about shields. For the better part of the first 6 months of Borderlands 3, the Transformer shield was almost exclusively the only shield that anybody wore, but luckily with time and more content came better options, and my pick for the best shield of Borderlands 3 is the Old God. The Old God shield will always roll with one of the elements on it as a 25% elemental resistance for the wearer, as well as a 20% boost of that element for the wearer of the shield. Note that you have to be using a weapon that has that element to get the boost. This makes the Old God great for firing the Skaggen Moze, Black, who doesn't have very many elemental damage perks to begin with, Amara to boost all of her existing elemental perks, and even Zane, who can make great use of this with the right element. All of that said, much like artifacts, shields can be very situational. So while I feel like the Old God is one of the best all-around shields, it's always a good idea to stock yourself with some other variety on shields as well. The Old God is a DLC 2 exclusive item and does not have dedicated drop stores, but can be most easily farmed from either the Empowered Gron or Tom and Zam. Honorable mentions for the shield category go to the Transformer Shield, the version 0.M, and the Plus Ultra. At number 3, let's talk class mods. Now, obviously, this one's tricky since there's 4 playable characters and each one will have their own best class mod. So let's break it down just like that. 4 winners in this category. For Zane, this one's easy. See Undead class mod from DLC 1 is a clear winner. This one gives Zane all of his kill skills just by shooting enemies, making Zane nearly invincible and a absolute beast of a killing machine. For Amara, it's a little bit trickier, but the Fade Zerker is probably her most all-around useful class mod, and that one can actually be obtained as a world drop in the base game. For Moze, there are so many good class mod options that it's almost not even fair to the other Vault Hunters, but I'm going to go with the Minesweeper. Hitting crits will give you a chance at a micro grenade spawning, and with Moze, that means a lot of extra damage. This is the absolute boss-killing class mod for Moze mains, but it's also very strong for mobbing too. Finally, Flak also has some decent class mods, but probably the best all-around option is the Bounty Hunter. This one gives you 3% chance to activate hunt skills with gun damage, and most Flak mains use high projectile count weapons, meaning that they're very likely to trigger that 3% chance on a regular basis. This class mod also treats boss like they're regular enemies, and in terms of your hunt skills, that means a lot more damage. It's a very fun and a very strong class mod. Honorable mentions for each character: Zane is the Spy and the Executor class mods. For Amara, it's the Muse and the Spirit.
Oh!
Coming in at number 6 is my pick for the best sniper rifle in the game, and for me, that's the Boogeyman. Now, this was a tough one for me to pick because there are some really fun snipers in this game, and I love Jacob snipers, but it's hard to argue with a high fire rate, laser accurate Vladof sniper that has a high chance to not consume ammo and occasionally spawns Boogeyman skulls that seek out enemies and do even more damage. And if you're lucky enough to get an annexed version with a 300/90 anointment like I did, then you're going to have a lot of fun with this gun. The Boogeyman skulls will take advantage of that 300/90 anointment when they hit enemies. This means you can sometimes just sit back and watch the skulls eliminate the entire battlefield. The Boogeyman can only be obtained by extracting it from the Arms Race DLC, where it can be found in these chests frequently. It can also drop from random enemies in the Arms Race or the final boss. Honorable mentions in the sniper category go to the Skullmasher, the Krakatoa, the Unseen Threat, the Sandhawk, and the Complex Root. Coming in at number 5 is my pick for the best assault rifle in Borderlands 3, and unlike the snipers, this one was a very clear and easy choice. The Monarch. It is an absolute beast of a weapon. High fire rate, massive damage, and it just feels good to shoot this thing. Switching this gun to bipod mode is what makes it so powerful, because that doubles your damage. It can roll with a ×4 variant or a ×8 variant projectile count as well. This gun can be used with great effect on large targets, or even small ones, but you need to treat this gun like a shotgun at that point and get right up in their face to maximize your shots on target. The Monarch can only be obtained on Mayhem 6 and above from Kilovolt in Electricity on Promethea. Honorable mentions in the assault rifle category go to the buffed Shred-a-Fire, especially if you find one with a super prefix, the boom prefixed sickle, aka the boom sickle, and the OPQ system, which was only available during the Revenge of the Cartels event, and it's locked at level 57, but it is still tearing people up at level 65. Coming in at number 4, let's talk about shields. For the better part of the first 6 months of Borderlands 3, the Transformer shield was almost exclusively the only shield that anybody wore, but luckily with time and more content came better options, and my pick for the best shield in Borderlands 3 is the Old God. The Old God shield will always roll with one of the elements on it as a 25% elemental resistance for the wearer, as well as a 20% boost of that element for the wearer of the shield. Note that you have to be using a weapon that has that element to get the boost. This makes the Old God great for firing the skagged in modes, Flak, who doesn't have very many elemental damage perks to begin with, Amara to boost all of her existing elemental perks, and even Zane, who can make great use of this with the right element. All of that said, much like artifacts, shields can be very situational. So while I feel like the Old God is one of the best all-around shields, it's always a good idea to stock yourself with some other variety on shields as well. The Old God is a DLC 2 exclusive item and does not have a dedicated drop source, but can be most easily farmed from either the Empowered Gron or Tom and Zam. Honorable mentions for the shield category go to the Transformer shield, the version 0.M, and the Plus Ultra. At number 3, let's talk class mods. Now, obviously, this one's tricky since there's 4 playable characters and each one will have their own best class mod. So let's break it down just like that. 4 winners in this category. For Zane, this one's easy. See Undead class mod from DLC 1 is a clear winner. This one gives Zane all of his kill skills just by shooting enemies, making Zane nearly invincible and a absolute beast of a killing machine. For Amara, it's a little bit trickier, but the Phase Zerker is probably her most all-around useful class mod, and that one can actually be obtained as a world drop in the base game. For Moze, there are so many good class mod options that it's almost not even fair to the other World Hunters, but I'm going to go with the Minesweeper. Hitting crits will give you a chance at a micro grenade spawning, and with Moze, that means a lot of extra damage. This is the absolute boss-killing class mod for Moze mains, but it's also very strong for mobbing too. Finally, Flak also has some decent class mods, but probably the best all-around option is the Bounty Hunter. This one gives you 3% chance to activate hunt skills with gun damage, and most Flak mains use high projectile count weapons, meaning that they're very likely to trigger that 3% chance on a regular basis. This class mod also treats boss like they're regular enemies, and in terms of your hunt skills, that means a lot more damage. It's a very fun and a very strong class mod. Honorable mentions for each character: Zane is the Spy and the Executor class mods. For Amara, it's the Muse and the Spiritual Driver. For Moze, the Blastmaster and the Sapper. For Flak, the Cosmic Stalker and the Stackbot. Coming in at number 2.
There's always a job to get done, and when even one machine is down, you don't have time to waste. Caterpillar has the parts to keep you up and running, from new to remanufactured cat parts, tools, and more. Shop online at parts.cat.com. Available anywhere you are, for always genuine, always reliable parts, backed by our 12-month Caterpillar parts warranty. Get your parts as fast as you want with a variety of shipping and order options. Have it delivered or order ahead and pick up at your local cat dealer. Shop parts. Shop cat. Shopparts.cat.com.
Ready? Wow. Yeah. Can you send me that? Sure. Hey, can you send me that? Sure.
Type 2 diabetes? Discover the power of 3 in the Ozempic Trizone.
With my Ozempic Trizone, I lowered my A1C, CV risk, and lost some weight.
Ozempic provides powerful A1C reduction. In studies, the majority of people reached an A1C under 7 and maintained it. Ozempic lowers the risk of major cardiovascular events such as stroke, heart attack, or death in adults also with known heart disease. And you may lose weight. Adults lost up to 14 pounds. Ozempic isn't for people with type 1 diabetes. Don't share needles or pens or reuse needles. Don't take Ozempic if you or your family ever had medullary thyroid cancer or have multiple endocrine neoplasia syndrome type 2 or if allergic to it. Stop Ozempic and get medical help right away if you get a lump or swelling in your neck, severe stomach pain, or an allergic reaction. Serious side effects may include pancreatitis. Gallbladder problems may occur. Tell your provider about vision problems or changes. Taking Ozempic with the sulfonylurea or insulin may increase low blood sugar risk. Side effects like nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea may lead to dehydration, which may worsen kidney problems.
Join the millions already taking Ozempic. Ask your healthcare provider about the Ozempic Trizone.
You may pay as little as $25 for a 3-month prescription.
Buying a home? Rocket Mortgage will cover 1% of your rate for the first year at no cost to you with Inflation Buster. Plus, if rates drop within 3 years of purchase, you can refinance with exclusive savings with Rate Drop Advantage. Don't miss these big savings. Visit inflationbuster.com.
But coming in at number 2 on this list is my pick for the best SMG in Borderlands 3, and before the release of Arms Race, this was an easy pick, but now that the Plasma Coil exists, it's really hard to argue with that being the best all-around SMG in the game. That said, its not so distant cousin, the Flipper, is an absolute beast as well. So my pick is going to be the Plasma Coil, but if you want to argue that the Flipper is better, I absolutely will not disagree with you. Both are extremely strong, and one thing the Flipper offers to players that the Plasma Coil doesn't is elemental variety. On the Plasma Coil, you're locked to either shock or radiation, but the Flipper can spawn with any of the elements. The Plasma Coil can only be obtained from the Arms Race DLC, and the Flipper can world drop in DLC 3 or be obtained from Manasor in the Blood Sun Canyon map. Other honorable mentions for SMGs go to the Smog, the Chaosin, and the Redistributor. Finally, coming in at number 1 are the pistols. And in Borderlands 3, there are some really, really good options in this category. My pick for the best pistol in the game, though, has to be the Light Show from DLC 3. And before the comments start rolling in, yes, I've used the Tizzy. Yes, I know it literally melts bosses. But to me, the Light Show is the best all-around weapon in the game for a number of reasons. It's useful for all 4 Vault Hunters. It's insanely strong without using up all of your ammo to be strong. It comes in all the elements, and it's ridiculously easy to farm a good variant. Being a Bounty of Blood legendary means that it has the best drop percentages of any of the items in any of the DLCs or base game at a 33% drop chance. This means on average, you should get a Light Show on every 3rd run, give or take. The Tizzy, meanwhile, requires you to do Arms Race, and each run on that content can take upwards of 30 minutes. That said, the Tizzy is an absolute destroyer of worlds, and I don't fault anybody that wants to place that at number 1, despite my reasoning to the contrary. You can farm the Light Show from Lazodactyl and the Bounty of Blood DLC, or get it as a world drop in that same DLC. You can farm the Tizzy and the Arms Race DLC from these chests, or from the boss, or even get it as a world drop in that DLC. Honorable mentions for pistols go to the Beacon, the Maggie, the Hellshock, 7th Sense, Gargoyle, Miscreant, and Unkempt Herald, but there's so many other good ones that I could go on and on. I hope you guys enjoyed this top 10 list of legendary gear in Borderlands 3. If you did, then hitting that like button would be greatly appreciated. Let me know in the comment section down below what your favorite item is, and don't forget to subscribe for more Borderlands content, including playthroughs, top 10s, item guides, and consistent hotfix and patch note videos. Thank you guys so much for watching. Take care. 3 has a ton of amazing weapons and gear, and in this video I'm going to break down the best of the best for each category, from pistols, snipers, shields, artifacts, and every other item type. These are my 5 best in slot legendary items in Borderlands 3. Let's start things off with sniper rifles, since I haven't previously ranked those in this game, and I really like them right now.
Number 5!
At number 5, the Lyuda. This Borderlands 2 Classic made its return to Borderlands 3 as a base game item that you can get by completing the Target of Opportunity quest from Zero, or you can get it from Tremendous Rex, the final boss of the Cistern of Slaughter, at a 50% drop chance. At launch, the Lyuda was absolutely ridiculous for damage because it had a bug that gave it an extra bullet with each shot, but the mag size was always problematic for most Vault Hunters. But since then, Gearbox has actually buffed this thing 3 times, dramatically increasing the weapon damage, reload speed, and even increasing the mag size by 150%. And honestly, this version of the Lyuda is quite a bit stronger than the Borderlands 2 version now, especially since you can get it in every element. You can also mitigate the ammo consumption on every single Vault Hunter. With Zane, you can use the clone active ammo regen anointment. With Moze, just spec into your ammo regen skills. With Flak, you can use my Destroyer of Worlds build and keep your ammo strong by using it while in fadeaway. And with Amara, using Dread, you can refill your mag just by killing phase-grassed enemies. Or conversely, just use a Terror ammo anointment on any Vault Hunter and keep your ammo up non-stop. The Lyuda has had a long, strange journey in Borderlands 3, but it's absolutely amazing right now.
On to number 4!
Coming in number 4 is the Boogeyman, yet another flat-off sniper rifle, and one that a lot of people considered a power-crept Lyuda till the Lyuda was buffed. The Boogeyman actually has the amazing ability to do weapon element splash damage with its shots, and on kill has a small chance to spawn a Boogeyman skull that will seek out enemies and explode, dealing non-elemental grenade damage. On top of that, this gun has a 60% chance to not even consume ammo. All of these add up to make this an absolutely amazing sniper rifle, edging out the amazing Lyuda just by a bit. In the hands of Moze with splash perks, this sniper is god tier. Even holding this in your hands, jumping into Ironberry getting kills will also spawn Boogeyman skulls, making it even more ridiculous. But honestly, this thing is amazing on every single Vault Hunter. The Boogeyman is obtained in arms race, from Peace Chest, as a world drop, or from Heavyweight Harker, the final boss.
Number 3!
And number 3 is another returning Borderlands 2 weapon, but as a different weapon type this time around, the Sandhawk. This doll sniper used to be a SMG on Borderlands 2 and was renowned as one of the strongest weapons in that game when paired with a B-shield. In Borderlands 3, it's now a sniper, but it works pretty much the same as it used to, shooting out 7 orbs that fly in the shape of a bird flapping its wings, but it no longer requires the B-shield to be extremely strong. Now, these projectiles that it shoots move slower than typical sniper rounds, but they do deal elemental splash damage, making them extremely powerful. It can spawn with any element, but cannot be non-elemental. A lot of people complain about the switch from SMG to sniper for this one, but honestly, this gun is still a beast. Now, Gearbox did hit it with a bit of a nerf back in 2020, increasing the shot cost from 2 ammo to 3
where's he at?
and removing 2 of the projectiles. But they later did a global sniper buff of 20% that atoned for that just a smidge.
I'm gonna call for that ass, and I'll make it sack the cash, I'll make you get...
Anathema in the Guardian takedown.
And we're bringing along now to number 2!
And number 2 is one of my all-time favorite weapons in Borderlands history, the Skull Masher. This Jacob sniper rifle has appeared in every single Borderlands game so far, including Tales from the Borderlands. What makes this sniper so damn good is the projectile count and the ability for those projectiles to deal crazy good critical hit damage, land shots to an enemy's dome and watch their heads explode, or just use this thing like a shotgun, run right up on somebody and hip fire as fast as you can pull the trigger and melt them down. The Skull Masher has had 2 buffs since launch, one being that flat 20% buff for all snipers like I mentioned before, and the other being a 50% damage buff back in 2020. This gun drops from Ice to the Invincible in Skittermaw Basin in DLC 2, the Guns, Love, and Tentacles DLC.
And finally, here we are at number 1!
Finally, the best overall sniper in Borderlands 3 is almost certainly no surprise to anybody who has ever used it before, the Complex Root. This Maliwan sniper requires a 1-second charge up, and then it will shoot out a 2-round burst, which then spawns 13 additional bullets, bouncing around in a zigzag pattern, dealing crazy damage to anything that it touches. The additional projectiles explode on impact or after a 2-second delay and deal weapon element splash damage. It will always spawn with a combination of 2 elements to switch between. I've often compared this gun to the the Pimpernel and Borderlands 2, even though they're very different in what they do. Both, however, deal massive damage outside of their initial shot, and splash damage is crazy strong in Borderlands 3. This gun also benefited from the 20% sniper rifle buff and didn't even really need it, but it also had an additional buff in late 2020 that lowered its weapon charge time as well. The complex root, when paired with a splash damage perk, either on artifacts class mods or even with anointments, is capable of eliminating the entire screen of enemies, but be warned, it can also eliminate your vision and even put yourself in fight for your life. The complex root is obtainable in DLC 3, The Bounty of Blood, from Lanny Dixon in Ashfall Peaks at an impressive 33% drop chance. Alright, up next we have the top 5 best in slot pistols.
And here we are at number 5!
The Beacon. This Maliwan pistol shoots out energy orbs that deal splash damage in whatever element you have on the gun. Additionally, on reload, this gun releases a Nova of the weapon element that deals splash damage, and this Nova deals more damage the fewer bullets remaining in the mag when you reload. This gun is one of the most versatile, strong, and fun weapons on this list, and that's saying something since there's some amazing weapons on here. The Beacon can roll with any 2 elements. Being a Maliwan, this allows you to change on the fly in ways that a lot of other weapons can't. Obviously, this gun lends itself beautifully to Moze and Amara, but I've enjoyed using this gun on Flak and Zane as a change of pace from my usual gear with them as well. The Beacon drops from Jarek Logan in Blood-Sudden Canyon on DLC 3, The Bounty of Blood, at a very solid 33% drop rate.
Moving on to number 4!
Oh shit, I didn't know I could do this. Okay.
Now, and the Tizzy takes this spot. This COV pistol is one of the overall most powerful weapons in the game, capable of ridiculous damage per second because of its combination of high damage and fire rate. This gun can also spawn in any element, giving it maximum versatility as well. Basically, the longer you hold the trigger, the faster this gun will shoot. Every 6 bullet will ricochet, and every 12 bullet is amped and deals 70% bonus damage. There are 2 downsides to this gun, however. First, you can only obtain this gun from Arms Race or the Diamond Loot Room from DLC 6 if you get super lucky. And secondly, this gun will eat your ammo like I eat jelly beans, and that's a lot. But with Moze, you can mitigate some of the ammo consumption, and with Zane, you can use the While Clone is active ammo regen anointment. Or, since we can now enable Bloody Harvest year-round, just turn that on and reroll this thing to have terror ammo regen and get yourself a grenade that applies terror to yourself. Boom, infinite ammo Tizzy. The Tizzy can be obtained from the Hunker Bunker Room in Arms Race, which is located right here on your map. It can also be obtained randomly in that DLC as a world drop from vending machines or from the final boss, the Heavyweight Archer. Lining in at number 3 is the Unkempt Herald. This classic from Borderlands 2 returns in Borderlands 3 and is now even better than its predecessor. Even though you can't roll a double penetrating prefix on this gun in Borderlands 3, it doesn't actually matter. Any version of this gun you get is going to absolutely wreck enemies. Unlike the Borderlands 2 version, this one can now roll all of the elements or be non-elemental. When you shoot this gun, it fires off 3 gyro jets that will split into a row of 7 gyro jets that explode on impact. Gun you get is going to absolutely wreck enemies. Unlike the Borderlands 3, and is now even better than DLC as a world drop from vending machines or from the final boss, the Heavyweight Archer.
And now we're down to number 3!
Lining in at number 3 is the Unkempt Herald. This classic from Borderlands 2 returns in Borderlands 3 and is now even better than its predecessor. Even though you can't roll a double penetrating prefix on this gun in Borderlands 3, it doesn't actually matter. Any version of this gun you get is going to absolutely wreck enemies. Unlike the Borderlands 2 version, this one can now roll all of the elements or be non-elemental. When you shoot this gun, it fires off 3 gyro jets that will split into a row of 7 gyro jets that explode on impact, dealing splash damage in your gun's weapon element type. Now, don't be fooled by the item card. There's a ×4 version of this gun, and it needs to be avoided at all costs, as all it does is consume 1 extra ammo per shot without giving you any any extra projectiles. This gun can spawn with splash anointments, and those are very powerful with this weapon. At launch, this version of the Herald was good, but not great, but a buff on June 6, 2021 gave this gun a 100% damage buff, propelling it to the top of the best pistols list, and honestly making it even stronger than the Borderlands 2 version. You can farm the Herald from Caber Dowd and Blood Sun Canyon on DLC 3, The Bounty of Blood, or it can world drop from other various named enemies or chests in that DLC.
I just want to say it's number 1, but I didn't, so it's number 2!
At number 2 on my list, and honestly my favorite overall pistol in the game, is the Light Show. Now, even though it's my favorite pistol, I recognize that it's not the strongest overall, thus the second spot on this list. This flat-off pistol shoots 4 bullets in a square pattern, and that pattern will rotate clockwise while firing, consuming just 1 ammo per shot. Using this gun for medium to close range, you can keep all those bullets on target and absolutely shred enemies. This gun can spawn in all of the elements or can be non-elemental, giving it exceptional versatility. In the hands of Zane, this is one of the most enjoyable gameplay experiences I've ever had in any Borderlands game ever, running and gunning and just having a blast. But this gun is also great on every single Vault Hunter in nearly any situation. It's also extremely easy to farm, having one of the fastest farming routes of any gun on this list. You can get the Light Show as a dedicated drop from Blazodactyl at 33% drop rate in the Obsidian Forest in DLC 3, The Bounty of Blood.
And finally, here we are at number 1!
Surprising absolutely nobody at number 1 on this list is the Free Radical. This Maliwan pistol might be locked to shock as the only elemental option, but don't let that fool you. This gun doesn't really care what enemies resist, and it will shred everything in sight. The Free Radical shoots out energy orbs that deal shock, splash damage, and each enemy that is hit will spawn a homing bullet that only homes back in on the hit target. These homing bullets do not deal splash damage, but this creates a wild light show of bullets and splash damage that leaves everything on the screen dead in mere seconds. Probably the only weakness this weapon has, is besides the element lock, is that like all Malawans, your first shot requires a little bit of a charge up, but after that it's game over for literally everything on the screen. The Free Radical is arguably one of the strongest overall weapons in the game, with a higher base damage than a lot of sniper rifles, oddly enough. You can farm the Free Radical for Beef Pliskin and Karath Canyon on Pandora by doing the Ava Murder Mystery side quest in DLC 6, The Director's Cut. Now we have the top 5 best in slot shotguns.
And here we are at number 5!
At number 5, the Convergence. This shotgun is basically the conference call of Borderlands 3. Shooting an enemy will spawn multiple orbs around the enemy that penetrate the target, dealing exceptional damage. Obtainable from the Hag of Fervor and the True Trials version of the Trial of Fervor on Skydrown Pulpit at a 50% drop chance, or from its original source of Dr. Benedict in the Fantastic Fustercluck DLC. This gun is strong and fun, and it gives me that conference call nostalgia that I was missing in Borderlands 3. Even though we have a conference call in this game, it just sucks. This gun is available in every element or even in a non-elemental version. The shotgun has good fire rate, accuracy, damage, and it's just a fun weapon to use.
And on to number 4!
At number 4, the Heartbreaker. The Heartbreaker is one of several weapons returning from Borderlands 2 that's actually even better than its previous version. A Moxie weapon, the Heartbreaker heals you for 20% of the damage you deal to enemies, and this gun deals very good damage as well. In Borderlands 2 and the pre-sequel, the Heartbreaker only did 2% of damage as healing as a comparison. The Heartbreaker shoots in the shape of a heart and is available in every element except for radiation. During my shotgun's only flag playthrough, this weapon was instrumental in my survivability during the Hemovorus fight, but not only that, it was actually one of the stronger shotguns I had.
What? Come on. Come on. Come on. I swear to God, if this speed, I'm gonna fuck myself in the ass.
At number 3, the Anarchy. This medium shotgun has a special ability that even just by reloading, which is a completely unintended bonus, by the way. This effect stacks 10 times in total, and at max stacks, this gives you a staggering 1,379% weapon damage bonus. Now, if you swap weapons or inadvertently cancel your reload animation, however, those stacks will go away. This is obviously a reference to Gage and her Anarchy skill from Borderlands 2. You can tell that the gun is currently upping the effects of the damage bonus by this red glow around the gun, but there's no way to see how many stacks you have at a given time. One thing you can do is 3-stack this character in an area by using a vending machine to reload your ammo. Simply shoot and throw reload 10 times to build up max stacks, then click the refill ammo button to then throw out a fully loaded murder machine. Bonus features for this beautiful beast are that you can roll splash damage anointments on this, and all of your projectiles actually deal weapon element splash damage. You can also roll this gun with up to 20 projectiles per shot, which only costs 2 ammo per shot, giving you some serious bang for your buck. The Anarchy can roll with any of the elements or also be non-elemental. There's only an 8.2% chance to get a particular element, however, so expect to farm this for a bit to get a perfect one. The Anarchy drops from Kukawajak and Nego Nashai on Xylorgos in the Guns, Love, and Tentacles DLC.
And here we are at number 2!
At number 2, the Hellwalker. Now, I know I ranked this gun higher than the number 1 shotgun on my best base game weapons video, but I'm allowed to change my mind over time, okay? The Hellwalker does still remain one of my all-around favorite weapons in all of Borderlands history, and I use one on pretty much every one of my Vault Hunters. Just being able to pop enemy heads with one close-range blast is, well, a blast. Few things are more satisfying to me than running around mobbing with this gun. Obtainable from Road Dogg and Splinterlands on Pandora, the Hellwalker is always locked to incendiary damage. This gun has fixed parts, so no matter how many times you farm it, it's always going to have the exact same stats at max level. Getting one of these as a world drop early in the story mode will likely hold you for 20 plus levels. The Hellwalker remains one of the coolest weapons that you will ever find in any Borderlands game ever.
And finally, here we are at number 1!
Finally, at number 1 is a shotgun that has had quite the transformation since launch. In the first month of Borderlands 3's release, most mains were using this gun like a laser beam of death, melting everything in sight. Sadly, this lack of diversity in gear led Gearbox to smacking this gun with a nerf, which reduced its damage by 25% and made it crazy inaccurate. Basically, you'd pull the trigger and the next thing you knew, like an instant later, you were staring at the sky. Eventually, they fixed the wild accuracy issues, but for a long portion of the game's life, this gun became basically worthless, doing less damage than a former pearlescent weapon should. That all changed on the 10th of June of 2021 when Gearbox gave this gun an 83.3% weapon damage buff and increased the gun's special effect for ammo regen. This essentially made it even better than it was at launch. To make matters even better, you can obtain this gun via lootograms that you get by killing Dinklebot on Skywell 27. Each lootogram has a 25% chance to turn into a butcher, so you can literally spend 10 to 15 minutes farming Dinklebot and then go turn in 20 lootograms and you're pretty much guaranteed to get a butcher. This gun is amazing and it makes me long for the days where we had pearlescence, because this thing is deserving of being a pearlescent in Borderlands 3. Now we got the top 5 best in slot assault rifles.
And here we are at number 5!
Sliding in at number 5 is the Rowan's Call. This full auto Jacobs assault rifle has the unique ability of regenerating your ammo while you hit crits and also still ricocheting orbs at the nearest enemy that do weapon element splash damage. You talk about a weapon that's very rewarding for accuracy, and this is it. Landing crits and keeping the ammo up non-stop while doing insane damage to the enemy you're shooting and everybody around them is insanely fun. At launch, this weapon was decent, but it wasn't until the June 10th, 2021 update where they increased its damage by 300%, at which point this gun became one of the best overall weapons in the game for every single character. Mose loves it for the splash crits, Ties the Banamara loves it for how crazy it is with indiscriminate, Zane loves it because it goes burr, and Flak absolutely loves it because of crits. Guaranteed to be one of the most fun weapons you'll ever use in a Borderlands game, provided that you are at least somewhat accurate.
Moving on to number 4!
Speaking of fun weapons to use, the OPQ system is a legendary version of the popular Q system assault rifle introduced with the Cartels event. This weapon quickly became one of the most popular weapons in the game. The special ability of this gun is that it occasionally does shock splash damage. Also, while in the alternate firing mode, it can deploy a drone of itself to fight alongside you while you have it in your hand, targeting any enemy that you look at. That drone also does shock splash damage. This gun is so strong that even when the Cartels event ended and the level cap was increased, people were still using this gun on higher levels and doing more damage than most other non-legendary weapons. Eventually, Gearbox made the Cartels and other seasonal events permanent, allowing us to now get this at max level.
And now we're down to number 3!
The newest assault rifle in Borderlands 3, introduced with Vault Card 3 from the director's cut, the Blade Fury is absolutely insane. Doing both bullet damage as well as melee damage since it shoots out knives, this gun is like a combination of the Face Puncher and the Clairvoyance. And much like the Clairvoyance, you can get this one in a Master variant to have 4 projectiles at just 2 ammo per shot. Or if you fancy it, get yourself a Gatling version so you can shoot this thing full auto. Either way, this gun is crazy because in addition to everything I just said, this gun can also bypass certain boss immune phases, as you can see right here. So grind yourself some Vault Card XP and go get this gun. You absolutely will not regret it.
And here we are at number 2!
Even though the Soul Render comes in at number 2 on this list, it's actually my favorite assault rifle in the game and one of my favorite weapons in Borderlands history. This gun shoots standard bullets, but it also occasionally launches skulls that do 20 times the base damage of the gun as splash damage. So on Mayhem 11, this thing is outputting some stupid numbers. These skulls will also auto-track enemies for you, meaning this gun is ideal for anybody with bad aim. You know, in case you know anybody like that. I cannot stress enough just how much I love this gun on every single Vault Hunter in nearly every situation. Go farm Tom and Zam in the Heart's Desire map and the Guns, Love, and Tentacles DLC to get yourself one. Focus on getting the highest base damage you can find, but also make sure it's a full auto version.
And finally, here we are at number 1!
Finally, at number 1 is probably no surprise to anybody who's ever used it, the Monarch. Now, a common misconception about this gun is it's only for flak, and while flak does indeed get the best use out of it, it's still extremely strong in the hands of every single Vault Hunter. That said, a clone Zane with double barrel will want to avoid this one since that clone won't swap to the alternate firing mode, and that's where the damage really comes from on this gun. In bipod mode, you cannot jump, run, or slide, but you can melt enemy health bars lightning fast. It's also super easy to farm, dropping from Kilovolt and Electricity on Promethea while playing on Mayhem 6 or higher. That said, getting a God roll is still a challenge, as is just getting a good one with the element that you want, but this gun is 100% worth the effort. And here's the top 5 best in slot SMGs.
And here we are at number 5!
At number 5 is the Blood-Starved Beast. This Gaul SMG is one of the most entertaining gunplay experiences in the entire game for me. It's absolutely lethal in the hands of Amara or Moze with the splash damage bonuses that you can get out of both the gun and their builds. Add to that you can get this gun in any element, and it can roll in a ×3 version for even more damage per shot, and you can start to see why I rank this one so highly. The only real downside to this gun is that you have to kill. M6 exclusive is only obtainable from General Trant on Desolation's Edge on Necro Tefeo, or from Scourge or Anathema in the Guardian Takedown, but it's extremely easy to farm from Trant, so go for it there. This gun received a buff in January of 2021, increasing the damage by 166%, while also increasing the fire rate, reload speed, mag size, and projectile speed. These changes made this gun one of the absolute best all-around weapons in the game, much less just an SMG, and hurtled it from my worst legendary items list to number 3 on my old best SMGs list in a matter of just weeks. The DNA shoots out 2 orbs that split off in different directions with an elemental energy blade held between them. Each shot has a random element. The gun now absolutely shreds on every Vault Hunter, and being a base game item, that means that even if you don't own any of the DLC of this game, you can still get this gun and wreck everything in the game. Jumping into the list way up here at number 3 is the Needle Gun. Now, speaking of SMGs that were previously horrible and now dominate, the Needle Gun received a huge 200% weapon damage buff back on June 24th, 2021, bumping it from laughing stock to one of the most coveted SMGs that you can get. Another knock on this gun had been that you could only obtain it during the Cartel event, which only came around once per year, but Gearbox recently made the Cartels, Bloody Harvest, and Broken Hearts events all permanent and free to everybody who owns the game, essentially making this the best base game SMG, just above the aforementioned DNA. The Needle Gun has several really cool features. Continuous firing will increase the fire rate. It shoots slow homing needles that apply debuff that stacks up to 10 times. Enemies need to be hit at least once every 2 seconds or the debuff resets. The magazine refills each time you apply the 10th stack to an enemy, and when you throw reload this thing, since it's a Tediore, it will home in on enemies and explode. Now, the Tediore part of this thing is not really really that important because Tedior's got a overall nerf way back in January of this year, and I kind of want them to undo that nerf. I really hope that one day they'll just say, you know what, that nerf was not necessary, and then we bring it back. But it is what it is. You can get this gun in all the elements or non-elemental, and the easiest way to farm this is to follow the guide that I will post on the screen right here in the corner, and that is my cartel farming guide. Essentially, you can get this from Joey Ultraviolet, Josie Bite, or Franco Firewall. What you want to do is you want to try and get Josie Bite and Franco Firewall in that final room with Joey Ultraviolet. If you can do that, then you can kill the two of them over and over, leave Joey alive, and just respawn without killing Joey, and you can keep farming Josie and Franco over and over until you get this thing to drop. And as strong as this gun is, it is absolutely worth multiple runs through the cartels, which honestly is my favorite map anyhow.
This one almost made it to number 1, but it didn't, so it's number 2.
At number 2 is the Flipper. This Maliwan SMG, lots of those on this list again, deals full splash damage and gains increasing projectiles the longer you shoot. It goes from 1 to 3 to 5 to 7 up to 9 projectiles all at once. This means after the first few shots, you will continuously shoot 9 projectiles all at once for the remainder of your mag. This makes this an absolute killing machine. Another great thing about the Flipper is that you have a 30% chance to get it from Menasor in DLC 3, The Bounty of Blood, so that gives you a super easy farm to get this murder machine, and it is available in all the elements. This thing with a Minesweeper on Moze is just an absolute destroyer. In the hands of Amara, this thing, because of the elemental damage and the splash damage you get, is a beast. In the hands of Flak, who will hit this thing on crits non-stop, this thing shreds. In the hands of Zane, this thing is just amazing. You can't go wrong with the Flipper. It's one of my favorite all-around guns in all of Borderlands history. And before the number 1 SMG was added into this game, the Flipper was hands down the most sought-after SMG out there, and it's still one of the best all-around weapons in the game.
And finally, here we are at number 1!
Finally, coming in at number 1 is absolutely no surprise to anybody who has ever used this gun before, the Plasma Coil. This gun was introduced with DLC 5, the Arms Race DLC, which is also known as the Designer's Cut. It can drop from any enemy, the chest, or the vendors in the Arms Race, and it is an absolute beast of a weapon. This Maliwan SMG starts off slow, but it absolutely melts, and it doesn't even care if you're matching elements properly. And honestly, that's about the only knock on this gun. It's locked to radiation and shock, but like I said, using either of those, it's still going to tear up every bit of content in the game. If you've ever had a problem completing any of the content, then farm yourself up a Plasma Coil and go try it again. You will not regret it. Now to our final weapon type, and this is generally my least favorite weapon type in all video games. However, after doing a launchers only Flak playthrough a little while back, I did learn to love them just a little bit. So here's my top 5 best in slot launchers.
Number 5!
At number 5, and this might be a controversial take, but this is my pick, so I'm going with it. The Yellow Cake. While it was somewhat nerfed a little while back, this launcher is still very capable of massive amounts of damage. It is locked to radiation as the only elemental option, but this launcher fires energy orbs in arcing trajectories that explode on it at a set